Hey, this is Chris McLernon from Panic Boom, and you are listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Yeah, so now that the single Revolution is out, how do you feel about it, and are you satisfied with the outcome?
Feel good about it, satisfied with the outcome for sure. The thing I'm amazed most is that Randy wrote the lyrics 25 years ago and didn't change a word, and they're still relevant. They don't feel like a time capsule.
Right. So they still feel fresh and still...
Yeah. Which, because, I mean, not everything ages well. And you wonder if just because you think it's cool at the time, there's stuff, let's pick anything else from let's say we did all that writing pretty much in 96, 95. If you pluck 10 songs from that era, how many still sound okay, modern? They sound like they fit now. And how many like, whoa, that's got a timestamp on it. So that didn't happen here.
Did you when you were putting this together, are you taking any more from the back catalog, or are you just all writing new stuff going forward from here?
I'd say it's about half and half. The stuff we felt strongly about from the first half, we're keeping, and reworking a few, but I'd say that we got a lot. But what's going to go on the record is, I think, about 11. So I'd say five are new and five are old.
I assume you were writing these tunes during the last couple of years and all the shit we've been going through. You find that not only colored it, but actually made it a little bit cathartic as well?
Yeah, I think the catharsis was good, especially for, let's go back to Randy, who hadn't been singing. Randy was, I would follow him on Instagram, and he was, doing stuff for GoPro and riding mountain bikes and surfing and snowboarding, he wasn't anywhere near a microphone. So when Phil suggested we do this, I was like, well, is Randy singing? And so Phil got a hold of Randy. He was like, I haven't been singing, but I'll give it a shot. And it was great. So certainly cathartic for him. For me, I think, and everybody else, it's a matter of relief and satisfaction that we were able to resolve where the band had started and really kind of give it a nice final polish. Because in 96, all we had was basically our demos. Which are of varying quality, because demos are scratch pads. It's demonstration. That's what they're short for. So some of them sound like, here, picture this, and some are much clearer. So the ones that I like the most are the ones watching go through the transformation.
The music business has changed quite a bit since you've been in this quite a long time now, since the 90s. What's it like trying to release new music, even a record, in this new, I guess, reinvented music climate?
A lot of it's much easier. Like, for example, in our case, we got 5 guys who are spread out all over the country, but we can record our parts and send them to each other via the net, edit. Let's say I have an idea and I go, hey, man, what about this? And I chop it up, because you can edit it like a Word document and send the audio back, and Phil will go, oh, yeah, okay, cool, that's right. Can you do this? And I can change something. So that's fantastic. And you can release the stuff yourself. Whereas in the old days, if you were on a major and you were going to release an album, pretty much you were a regional star. So that meant you had X amount of fans, and you could release probably a single that was on vinyl. Certainly, if you were really killing, you could do a record. Now, complete opposite. My son's band, he's 21. He's already put out his first record, and it's vinyl. Digital download. I don't know if they're doing CDs, but they're going to do cassettes, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Could not have done that in 1996. Easily, as easy as it is now. The flip side is the market is saturated. Yes. The bar to entry is it's on the floor. It's easy to get stuff out there. Anybody can get something on Spotify, whereas the old days, to get signed to a major was an accomplishment. It really was. There was a definite caste system to getting that stuff done.
And
good or bad.
Yeah, and I think though that you sacrifice as well. It's a give and take, because you don't have the full release. I mean, everybody wants content and they want to consume it in 3-minute increments like a single a month or a single every 6 weeks, and you got to be, as a musician or an artist, you got to be constantly in that fray of putting new stuff out. Otherwise, you get, like you just said, lost in that massive crowd.
Right. It's much more like the 50s and 60s model, where you single, maybe EP, or single, then you do a record. But the ability to record an album and release it was based on your success as a singles artist, you know. So that's definitely changed. But the writing process, like when we do it, typically you get everyone in the room and come up with a lump of songs. Do it all at once, and then put those lumps of songs out all at once. So the cool part is you have a level of uniformity generally to the approach. The cool part about doing singles and bits and pieces are you can kind of mold one to each release. However, you might get something really wacky when you go from track 1 to track 8. So we're trying to keep it like, okay, everything stays with kind of within this frame, but not totally constrained like, you know, like a Ramones record where it's like 3-4 instruments and that's it.
Right. And we talk about this a lot on the show too. I think something is also lost in the sequencing is an art, right? I mean, you took those songs and I mean, you spent lots of time figuring out the mood of the record and the ebbs and flows, and you don't get that at all now, right? You just get, here's my 4-minute video.
Here's the one I thought of first, and then here's the one I thought of second. And they don't necessarily go to. It might be the you know, you come up with a love song first. The whole album's going to be love. I mean, you know, let's take, looking at your shirt. Let's take Van Halen for an example. They brought back Ted Templeman. There you go. They brought Ted Templeman back on. I think it was either Balance or for Unlawful, and he did the sequencing. Ted did the sequencing.
Okay.
So you are dead right. It's an important skill. Imagine like Queen's Night at the Opera, just, you know, throw the tracks up in the air, you know, hit shuffle and play it. You're gonna be like, what is going on here?
You know, the whole mood of so many records that I can think of would drastically change if you did anything like that. So I think that's sort of missing in, you know, I have kids your son's age as well, and I think it's missing. And I don't know if it's good
totally
or
great.
bad. It's just, you know, how I grew up, I guess, and kind of nostalgia for it.
Oh, totally builds the mood. And in those days as well, and this is what I'm trying to do, at least with the sequencing on the Boom record, is I'm picturing it like a record where you get halfway and then you change the mood again. So you start boom out of the gate, and then you kind of do this and then bring it kind of down a little bit, or maybe like crazy, stop, start again, do some sort of pattern again, and then end on a banger, you know?
That's interesting. When you guys, when you're writing, are you writing like the way the songs are going to come across on stage in front of a crowd, or are you writing a song just for the song's sake?
Song for the song's sake, because you figure 9 times out of 10, someone's going to hear the song before they'd ever see the band.
Gotcha. But you're not worried about like how certain parts are going to come across, like this would be a good spot for a breakdown or a jump or whatever.
I think that kind of comes naturally once you start writing. So that's a good question in the sense that maybe that's so ingrained in our writing process, meaning the physical aspect of it, of what you would be doing at that time. Yeah. I mean, I know, just speaking selfishly, that I will modify bass parts around my vocal. So I do, and I noticed Geddy Lee does this too. It's where I kind of learned it, in McCartney as well, and Phil Lynott, same thing, where they'll simplify the bass part while they're singing, and then do the cool little lick when there's no vocal. So that is definitely taking the show into account, no doubt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What do you guys have planned? Are you able to get out on the road with this, or is it too early? Or
probably a little too early right now, just because we have one record. We will have one record, so it kind of limits the catalog. Right. But we've talked about doing a streaming show.
Oh, that's kind of cool. And streaming now might be good because there's not a flood of streamers, right? Like there were a year and a half ago.
Oh yeah, where everyone was home.
Right.
And now everyone's on the road.
Right. Man, I've been doing podcasts all day, and everybody I've talked to has been on a bus or in a van somewhere today trying to make up for the last couple of years. And I mean, they're all got the same problems. Like there's too many shows in a city because you've got fans got to decide, hey, I can't go. I can't physically be in 3 places at once tonight. You've never had anything like that before, I don't think.
No. And imagine trying to plan the tour, because normally you'd go and let's say you're playing Washington and you're going to play the American Theater. Well, now there's 4 bands competing for that spot, whereas a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever, maybe one,
Right.
So you wouldn't have to worry about it. But now there's only so many venues.
Right. It's crazy. I know. I'm looking just ahead here in the 31st of this month. There's like 3 massive shows that I've been waiting to see for years. They're on the same night and they're, I don't know, away from each other. And I'm sitting there going, what the hell do I going to do here?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
And
it's got to be affecting the bands economically too, because that dollar can only go to one spot.
Right. And merch, and not just tickets, but you're looking at merch in that city. And with gas being the way it is now, it's going to be an interesting go.
Sure is. Oh yeah, tour buses don't sip on gasoline.
No. But even bands pulling trailers, I mean, playing small shows, you got to be hustling or willing to gamble.
Yeah. You're eating a whole lot less to fill up that tank now.
Yep. I think that on the other side of the coin, though, I think on the upside of this, we're going to see like a massive creative renaissance or artistic renaissance, right? Because so many people have been locked up for a year and a half, 2 years working on that craft. And not just music, you're going to see art. I think everybody's like been really honing in on their craft, and now it's going to be an explosion.
Totally agree. I mean, again, if I go personally, I have the Boom record. I have a surf project, so I've got that. I put out the 4th one about a year ago, but I have a 5th one ready to go. And then I have another project that's got the 1 record is done. It's just not out yet. And I have the 2nd one written completely, and I'm in the process of writing the 3rd. And that's just me, imagine there's got to be 100 other people like me doing the same thing.
Right. And a lot of it's going to be like really good, right? Because everybody's had time to you didn't have to worry about that cycle of tour, quickly record and get back on tour to make money. You've actually had a lot of time to really do it and do it right. Oh
yeah. I mean, that's even like with the Boom stuff. I send these guys, they'll say, when are we going to hear something? I go, not yet. And I'll send them like, it'll say revision like 2. And then they'll listen to it, send back their stuff, and here's what we think about it. And then all of a sudden, a week later, they'll get another one that says revision 8. And they're like, what happened? The other one's like, I didn't let you hear. It was just ideas I had. I was like, I don't know if I like that one or not. But, it allows you the luxury of refinement, to be sure.
It's going to be wonderful. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what happens in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, me too. Cool, because that's always inspiring too, and it gets the competition going.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it leveled the playing field too.
Totally did. Yeah. You're going to find out who had ideas and who didn't.
Right. But it also gives I think the younger, not as experienced bands almost the same footing, right? Because everybody's coming out the gate and everybody's got use of this technology now.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the bands are much more aware of the technology, where that wasn't really much of a function 20 years ago. It was usually left at the engineers and the producers, and that's there might be one guy who was really into it,
right?
Maybe, but now it's rare to find, let's say, a 4-piece band where everyone doesn't have Pro Tools or Logic or Reaper or something, where they're all recording and sending their ideas around.
Right, even in the bus.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So what's next for Panic Boom?
Second single, I think is going to be out this month, and it's called Keep It To Myself. That's already done, mixed, ready to go. We just got to master it and get that one ready. Literally going to be working on another one this afternoon, adding some, again, back to the revision. I was like, you know what? I hear something, whereas, I might hear something again in a day or two and add that as well. So it's and I need some tracks from Phil, because he again listened to his part and go, let me change it for you, let me get it to you. But otherwise, all guitars and vocals are done for everything. So now it's just going through it and mixing 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time again. And some will be easier than other. Like Revolution's got a lot of moving parts.
Right.
I mean, the guy who mastered it, he's like, geez, this thing's got the kitchen sink on it. And I was like, well, got to keep it interesting. But some songs aren't like that. Some are more, boom, get it done.
Right.
And they don't have to be subtle, Not everything's got to be Bohemian Rhapsody. Sometimes it can be Ace of Spades.
Oh, I absolutely agree. You need all ends of the spectrum there for sure.
Yep.
So you said you continue writing, so we can look forward to new music as we go along, and then maybe something out on the road in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we counted last, we had 2 full albums worth of stuff, and we all agreed to stop writing,
Right? And
because otherwise it's, here, try this one, here, try this one. I'm like, dude, I'm in the middle of mixing this, and it's awesome, I love it, but you feel like an overworked fry cook.
Right.
You're just like, okay, I get it, it's the lunch hour, Jesus,
Right.
Because creativity can show up whenever, here it is, and you don't want to say, no, don't send me that idea. I'll send it, just put it on the pile. Just put it on the pile.
Excellent. Well, that was all of my questions. Did I miss something you wanted to cover? I know I meandered a bit.
That's okay. I'm the king of meandering. Don't worry about that. No, I mean, it's the cool part about the Boom thing is that it started 25 years ago, whatever it was. And we really got ahead of steam. And then Saigon came off one of its hiati, as I like to call them. It's plural of hiatus.
Right.
And so Phil and I went back to do that. And this stuff got kind of left by the wayside. And we were all really into it. But it was the ability, thanks for technology and everyone being alive, that helps. Yeah. Which is, sounds kind of snarky, but at this age, anything's possible. We could have lost somebody, but we did not. And then having Randy sound like Randy did, if not better, on the vocals, 25 years ago. It's so much fun to pick it right back up and just like, it's like taking the pause button and going dink and just starting right where we left off. I mean, everything just boom, moving. It's cool. It's really cool.
I know I said I had no more, but you just brought up something. Ever imagine you'd still be doing this?
Yeah, go ahead.
30 years later, I guess, almost 30 years later?
With them?
With anything. You ever imagine you'd still be in the business somewhere making music and being relevant?
Yeah, well, it's always a question if you're relevant or not, right? That's you always wonder that, especially if you have kids, right? Yeah, that's cool, Dad. Yeah, I really want to hear about Van Halen again. Yeah, okay, whatever, Well, when I left the band, when I left Saigon, I came to Charleston and ran the family business for a couple of years, and loved it, but it was not answering to who I am, which is I'm a musician. That's what I do. It's who I am. It's how I, walk the earth. And the market and ability to do stuff for TV was just blooming. So I got into that for 10, 15 years. So I was doing that the entire time. Gotcha. Writing, producing, meeting those deadlines for, major networks and all that stuff, which was a huge help.
Right.
Huge. And had no idea it would be relevant later, but here we are, back to relevance again. Here we are. So that was, did I think I'd be in bands again? No. Because that's a young man's game, frankly.
Yeah.
There's some rare ones like the ones behind you there who are still able to do it. But, for every one of them, there's, 16 that are not able to do it for one reason or another. Maybe just because they don't want to, because they got hit in the head by what the business is like. I was talking to a friend of mine who they were referring, I think, to Kurt Cobain. It's like, what do you think happened there? I said, I didn't know the guy, but it just seemed like being that big was just not who he was. And he couldn't handle it. He's not the only story like that. So, I mean, it happens in TV, it happens in movies. It's just, some people just go, you know what? This is not what I want to do. And they move on to other things.
Right.
But I did that for a while, but I came back to it because it was just like, no, this is definitely who I am. But I didn't have to be a rock star.
Right. I think, and I'll let you go after this, but I think music gets in you if it gets in you early, it gets in your soul and your very essence, and then you can't escape it no matter how hard you try. In some way or another, it's going to show up, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It's it's who you are, and it's your craft. And sometimes you get like a friend of mine, Jamie St. James, said, look, man, fame and money that's an accident. This is who we are. This is what we do. So, and the crazy thing is you're sold the dream about the fame and the money.
Right.
And, you see your peers, some of them hit it, you know, and you're just like, good God. And sometimes it hits you, but it can be fleeting too. You know, just like, it's like fashion, like whoop, you're out of there. And that can be tough to take too. So you ask yourself that question, well, am I in it for the fame and the money? And sometimes, yeah, that's sure, why not? But sometimes it's nope. You know, I'm at the gym and I'm thinking, well, that's a cool riff. You know, I start playing it and thinking, that's you're stuck, man. Yep, that's in your DNA. You're not getting that one out.
Yep. Well, that's all I've got, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time, and sorry about the whatever kind of glitch we had, but I'm glad we made it work.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate your time. Good luck with
absolutely.
Good luck with the next portion here or the next part of the road, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Hello out there. Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.